Welcome to Uncomfortable Conversations, the show that encourages you to embrace conversations with people that may not share your same perspective. You may be thinking, does that mean that we have to discuss something negative each week? No. Uncomfortable conversations is the willingness to listen to learn from another person's perspective on conversation topics that are important in nature to all of us. So, thank you for supporting our mission and tuning in to our show. My name is Sabrina Protic, and I'm the author of Hindsight to Insight Money Between Family and Friends. I'm extremely excited and honored to co host this show with, oh, look at her just beaming, my fellow co host and good friend, Miss CJ Grace. She is author of the book My Wild Ride: How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity, which I read, and the candid comic memoir and uplifting survival guide describing how she dealt with discovering her husband's adultery while battling with cancer, breast cancer, no doubt. Refusing to be a victim and keeping her snarky sense of humor, CJ's self help book contains a combination of Black humor and pragmatism, describing how to deal with cancer and a cheating spouse at the same time. She shares with us her perspectives on this all important topic, and we are just so honored to have her with us today. CJ, how are you?
I'm fine, and I'm heartened that you guys are watching my recent videos on YouTube because I've been doing a lot of speaking about breast cancer issues. Having written about it, it's close to my heart, and I'm a two-time breast cancer survivor with one of those nasty little BRCA genes. So there you go.
Wonderful. Well, we'll be talking about that. And you are a breast cancer survivor. In fact, your book covers conventional and alternative therapies and many of the overlooked issues. Overlooked. We'll talk about that a little bit, right? Such as supportive partners, sex celibacy, cancer etiquette, and end of life planning. So, the Thriving Women Book Club is encouraging our viewers to get this book. We highly encourage it. So, yeah, CJ, we watched your recent YouTube video. How is the book promotion going?
Well, it's going pretty well because it's an unusual book in that it is comedy. There's a lot of humor and cartoons in there, but it's extremely well researched. I'm an anal BBC trained journalist, so I actually reference about 70 books and over 100 articles and studies in there. So there's a lot of information in there, but I make it very palatable by putting in a lot of humor. I sort of draw on my background of Monty Python, which I've always loved. So that's, I think it's a lot of people have told me how much they've got out of reading that book. So I would say that if since so many people are touched by cancer, either themselves or in their family and friends, it's very, very helpful to read a book like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that and making it palatable. So that's the thing. It can be a very scary topic and experience for not only the individual, but the family and friends. So thank you for that. Just a little bit of a shift. CJ, last week's topic of conversation was, does corporal punishment really work? What was your shared understanding from listening to the disclaimer perspectives?
Yeah, we had a lot of dissimilar perspectives on that issue. And actually, the jury's out on whether or not corporal punishment is effective. It's leaning towards, though, it not being effective. And in the commentary published along with the Gershoff study, George W. Holden, PhD from the University of Texas at Austin, writes that Gershoff's findings reflect the growing body of evidence indicating that corporal punishment does no good and may even cause harm. And George says that the psychological community shouldn't be advocating spanking as a discipline tool for parents. While the nature of the analyses prohibits causally linking corporal punishment with child behaviors, he summarizes a large body of literature on parenting that suggests why corporal punishment may cause negative outcomes for children. For one, corporal punishment on its own doesn't teach children right from wrong, and it makes children afraid to disobey when parents are present. And while parents aren't present, those same children may well misbehave. On the other hand, researchers Diana Baumrind, Robert Lazarine, and Philip Cowan reported the evidence in the meta-analysis doesn't justify a blanket injunction against mild to moderate disciplinary spanking. And an association between corporal punishment and physical abuse, they say, is not evidence that mild or moderate corporal punishment increases the risk of abuse. Until researchers, clinicians, and parents can definitively demonstrate the presence of positive effects of corporal punishment, including effectiveness in halting future misbehavior, not just the absence of negative effects, as the psychologists say they do not responsibly recommend its use. That's what Gershoff says. So it comes down to balance, because one of the big problems is when corporal punishment spills over into actual physical abuse. That is quite a tightrope between those two things. So Sabrina, can our international viewers listen to this and recent episodes?
Great question, CJ. If this is your first time tuning into our show, we want to let you know that we can be found on Apple Podcasts. E360 TV is on demand on Roku TV, Android, and as I mentioned, Apple TV. Now you can listen to this episode on Spotify, as I mentioned, Apple Podcasts earlier, by downloading the app and searching Thriving Women Network. This will allow our international Prime viewers an opportunity to listen to our show that may not have access to E360 TV. So this opportunity to listen to our show or view our show now is open to any and everyone. Our network theme last month was stress awareness. CJ, what is our theme for May?
Well, our theme is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And the theme is look around you, look within. The Thriving Women Network is doing its part to enlighten viewers on the stigma around mental health and the treatment of people who suffer from anxiety and depression. And you may be thinking, well, what do they mean by stigma? When a disorder like depression is stigmatized, the people with that disorder are stigmatized. And there's a misconception that this mental health disorder only happens to people with a flawed character, family gene, or some kind of moral failure. And in reality, these disorders can happen to anyone. The risk factors associated with mental health disorders, such as poverty, experiencing violence, or being from a marginalized group, are heavily stigmatized. So let's watch this video to find out more.
Have you ever lost rhythm or reason? Struggled for motivation like time stopped in a darker season? Ever felt trapped in a cycle of negativity? Overwhelmed by anxiety or uncomfortable in your own company? Like your skin doesn't fit? Or like you couldn't give even the tiniest bit of yourself to the people you love? There's a good chance you might have, and if not, you might. There are millions fighting this fight. And there are times in this fight when we might need heroes. Someone to talk to and someone to hear us. Someone who's there for us when we are ready. Who won't shut us down if the conversation gets awkward or heavy. Who'll ask if we're feeling okay. But who are they? If you can be there in the difficult moments, if your ear can be a refuge when our words are homeless, if you can be patient when we need to complain, hold on to your judgment and let us explain, then together the power is ours. We have the opportunity. We can be the generation that makes a difference. With our determination, we can build a time of acceptance. We can understand how our mental well-being affects us. We can reach out and listen to those around us. Together, we can. We will.
So powerful.
Wow.
Yes. I mean that kind of went deep to the core. But why this theme? Look around you. Look within. Why is that so important? We have a 2023 report that was released from the State of Mental Health in America survey, which includes a deep dive into the prevalence of mental health and the barriers to care. It states that 21%, that's 21% of US adults are experiencing at least one mental illness. That's roughly 50 million people. That is a lot. Listen to this: 55% of adults with a mental illness have not received any treatment. 5.44% of adults experience severe mental illness. Over 12.1 million adults, or 4.8%, have reported serious thoughts of suicide. This figure more than doubles when surveying adults who identify as two or more races. The states faring the poorest include Kansas, Arizona, and Oregon, which all report high percentages of adults with mental illness and thoughts of suicide. We're encouraging individuals to not hesitate, to seek help, or even talk about it with your loved ones. Do not fear being judged and facing unnecessary backlash. Let's empower our family and friends with the support and resources they need to thrive. And I'd like to add a little bit to that. Just the word mental illness used to carry a stigmatism, right, CJ? When you hear that, people automatically thought certain things when they heard it. And so now we're opening up our minds and thoughts to the fact that it's just simply maybe people may just need a little shift and help and care, a little TLC. So bringing this out to everyone is so crucial. Please get help, talk to someone. CJ, what is our topic that will enlighten women on the link between breast cancer and bras?
Yes, that is our topic of conversation today. It's an uncomfortable conversation. Does wearing a bra cause cancer? And the idea that bras may cause cancer was described in the 1995 book, revised in 2018, called Dressed to Kill by Sydney Ross Singer and Soma Grismeyer. The book describes research showing that women who wear bras for 12 hours a day have a higher risk of developing breast cancer than women who do not wear bras. And the authors maintain that bras restrict the lymph system, which results in a buildup of toxins and waste products in the breast. However, despite several studies showing the contrary, the American Cancer Society says there's no evidence that compression of the lymph nodes by bras causes breast cancer, and says that there is insufficient evidence that going braless will help reduce your risk of developing breast cancer. Nevertheless, the question still remains, and we're very honored to have a conversation today about the bra cancer link with medical anthropologist and researcher Sydney Ross Singer, who is the author of that book, Dressed to Kill, and we'll be speaking to him later in the show today. As we do every week, we share and listen to dissimilar perspectives on each topic. And so let's listen to Dr. J.K. Harness, who's the general surgeon affiliated with Northern Inyo Hospital, and see his perspective on this question. Does wearing bras cause breast cancer? Stay tuned.
The truth about bras and breast cancer risk. Stay tuned for some facts. Off and on over the years, I've heard women come in and say, gee, Dr. Harness, is it true that wearing a bra increases my risk of developing breast cancer? This sort of rumor has been circulating for a long time in the social media. I think part of the thinking is that somehow the constrictive nature of a bra doesn't allow toxins that are in the breast to get out of the breast. The main drainage, if you will, of the breast is through the lymphatic systems into the lymph nodes, and that perhaps wearing a bra interferes with that. So here's a report that I've come across. I've got it with me here, coming from the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle, Washington. This is one of the one of the most reputable cancer centers in the country. And what they did in this brief report that I have, they analyzed information from 1,044 postmenopausal women who had breast cancer and 469 postmenopausal women who had not had breast cancer. And they collected a ton of information about the typical stuff that we look at. How old were you when you started your periods? When did you start wearing bras? What kind of bras did you wear? Just about everything that you could think of under the sun. And particularly the important data about weight, about the use of hormone replacement therapy, whether they'd had children or not, or whatever. So reading sort of from this report, compared with women who had not had breast cancer, those who had had breast cancer were more likely to be heavier, have used estrogen and progesterone hormone replacement therapy, have a family history of breast cancer, and have never been pregnant. In other words, we've known for a long time that these are normal risk factors for breast cancer. The bottom line of this was that whether you wore a bra or not, or the detailed analysis of this data showed that there was absolutely no cause and effect between wearing a bra or not and increasing your risk for breast cancer. Now, interestingly, some time ago, the American Cancer Society also had a report on women who had had axillary lymph nodes removed for reasons other than breast cancer. Perhaps they had a malignant melanoma or whatever it may be. In other words, if you took away the lymph nodes in the armpit area that were involved with the drainage of lymph fluid out of the breast, would that increase the risk of breast cancer? And the bottom line was, no, it did not even slightly. So whether you wear a bra or not, go braless if you want to. I love one of the lines in this report. This is not coming from me, but I got to read this to you. It says, quote, "Going braless won't reduce your risk of getting breast cancer any more than wearing pink panties will," unquote. What it's really all about is lifestyle issues. These are some of the important things that you can do to help prevent breast cancer. Eating a heart-healthy diet, exercising regularly, drinking in moderation or even under moderation, not smoking, not using hormone, particularly combined hormone replacement therapy over a prolonged period. These are all of the things that we know about that can help prevent breast cancer. Whether you wear a bra or not is not one of them.
So moving along with our thoughts here is that we have invited Sydney Ross Singer, medical anthropologist, author, and pioneer in the field of applied medical anthropology, founder of the Institute for the Sydney of Culturogenic Disease, located in Hawaii. Sydney has made numerous discoveries on the cultural causes of many common diseases. His research into the link between breast cancer and bras has changed the lingerie and breast cancer industries, as described in his groundbreaking book, Dressed to Kill: The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras.
And we've also invited Tennille Morris. She's a brand strategist and host of The Latest Tea with Lady T, to share her life and business perspective on today's topic of conversation. And during our break, we're going to be enlightened on the benefit of buying life insurance with living benefits if and when you are diagnosed with a critical, chronic, or terminal illness. And don't forget, Uncomfortable Conversations is sponsored by Thriving Women University, an affiliate of the Thriving Women Network. If you want to produce your very own franchise show on E360 TV, TWN provides the media network training, coaching, and mentoring to produce your very own franchise show. Visit thrivingwomennetwork.com to schedule your opportunity. We'll be right back after the break.
If you're familiar with life insurance, you probably know what a death benefit is. But have you heard of living benefits? In short, they provide valuable access for the living by accelerating a portion of the life insurance policy's death benefit, provided certain conditions are met. As lifespans continue to improve, living benefit riders could become even more important. Let's say you get in a bad accident or get really sick and survive. A traditional death benefit wouldn't help there, but living benefit riders could. They provide early access to your policy's death benefit when you have a qualifying condition, which could help you preserve emergency savings, money set aside for your kids' education, and more. Keep in mind, medical costs are the #1 reason people file for bankruptcy and are responsible for 17% of 401k hardship withdrawals. Often available at no extra cost at policy issue, living benefit riders are designed to help protect your family's quality of life from the financial effects of an unexpected injury or illness. Unfortunately, it's more common than you'd think. In fact, 42% of new cancer patients lose their entire life savings in the first 2 years of treatment. So how do living benefit riders on a life insurance policy work? There are 3 different types. A chronic illness rider can help when you've been certified by a licensed healthcare practitioner that you're unable to perform 2 or more of the 6 activities of daily living without substantial assistance, like bathing, dressing, and eating, typically for 90 days, or you're severely cognitively impaired and need supervision by another person. A critical illness rider can help when you have been diagnosed by a physician with a health condition such as cancer, heart attack, or stroke. And a terminal illness rider can help when a licensed physician diagnoses someone as having less than 12 months to live. Being prepared for anything life throws at you is important, and that's why you should select a policy that has all 3 of these features available. That way, you can accelerate the death benefit if you were to be affected by one or more of these conditions. While no one can predict the future, we can prepare for it, with life insurance to protect our loved ones after we're gone, and living benefits to protect them while we're still here. To learn more, ask your financial professional about a life insurance policy with living benefit riders.
Welcome back to Uncomfortable Conversation. Our topic of conversation is, does wearing a bra cause breast cancer? During our YouTube break, we heard from Dr. J.K. Harness' perspective. Before we introduce our special guest, CJ and I will share our notes from another study that was shared by Caroline Novus from the National Center of Health Research. She wrote, in 2014, study published researchers interviewed 1,000 postmenopausal female participants with breast cancer and 500 who did not have breast cancer. About half their lifetime, their bra wearing patterns. The researchers found no evidence of a connection between the number of hours spent wearing a bra or wearing an underwire bra and increased breast cancer risk. The report concluded that studies have not convinced experts that wearing bras or underwire bras increase our chances of developing breast cancer. In that same study, it shared some important factors that are associated with increased risk of breast cancer. CJ, can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, and that, in fact, what you're talking about is the same study that Dr. J.K. Harness was referring to in that earlier video. And I have to mention, in the research for my book, My Wild Ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity, I did come across several studies that contradicted that 2014 Hutchinson study, which had no control group of women who did not wear bras and only looked at postmenopausal women in whom the effects were much weaker because of survivor bias. In fact, Dr. John Mayo, one of the founders of the Mayo Clinic, wrote in the article Susceptibility to Cancer in the 1931 Annals of Surgery that cancer of the breast occurs largely among civilized women. In those countries where breasts are allowed to be exposed, that is, are not compressed or irritated by clothing, it is rare. So that was from 1931 from John Mayo, one of the founders of the Mayo Clinic. But there are risk factors for breast cancer that you can't control. First of all, sex. Women represent 99% of all breast cancer patients and have a 12.1 chance of being diagnosed with breast cancer during their lifetime. Number two, age. The chances of getting breast cancer increase with age. And about 65% of women are over 55 years old when they're diagnosed. Number three, race. After age 65, white women are more likely to get breast cancer than black women, but black women have a higher incidence before age 45 and are more likely to die from breast cancer. I wonder if that's because of socioeconomic reasons, if they are poorer than the white patients they've been looking at. Then there's number four, family history. Certain inherited gene mutations like BRCA1 and BRCA2, BRCA1 and BRCA2, and I know about that because I have one of those nasty little genes, increase the risk of developing breast cancer. However, these genes account for only 5 to 10% of overall cases. And even without those genes, having a grandmother, mother, sister, or daughter diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer increases the risk. Number five, a previous history of breast cancer, abnormal breast cells, or certain non-invasive precancers like lobular carcinoma in situ or ductal carcinoma in situ increase the risk of developing invasive cancer. And number six, beginning menstruation early, before the age of 12, increases the risk of breast cancer by affecting the level of reproductive hormones a woman is exposed to during her lifetime. Number seven, starting menopause late after age 55 increases the risk of breast cancer. Number eight, dense breast tissue, which I have, sadly, increases the risk of breast cancer. So those are things you can't control, apart from maybe the bras, if you do go for the link between bras and cancer. But Sabrina, share with us what we can possibly control to reduce our risk of breast cancer.
Certainly, CJ, quite a bit of information here. So I would encourage you to watch this show again so you can capture it all. But there are risk factors that you can possibly control. And here they are. Women who delay having their first child until later in life, or who've never had children after a higher risk for breast cancer. In contrast, having children at a younger age and breastfeeding decrease the risk of developing breast cancer. Women who take hormonal therapy for menopause are at an increased risk for breast cancer. Being overweight, obese, increase the risk of postmenopausal breast cancer. Number four, physical inactivity increases risk. Number five, women who drink an average of 2 alcoholic beverages per day increase their breast cancer risk by 21%. Never heard of that. That's high. The more a woman drinks, the greater her risk. High levels of radiation in the chest area before 30 increases the risk. Women who took DES during pregnancy. This drug was mainly used in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and are at an increased risk of breast cancer. There is growing evidence that smoking and exposure to tobacco smoke probably, we're just saying probably, increase breast cancer risk. The use of oral contraceptives may slightly increase the risk of developing breast cancer. Some studies have found no increased risk from taking birth control pills, and others have shown an increased risk. Do your homework. So when we can see these studies and research vary. Do your homework. So when we come back from our break, we'll meet the author of the book, Dressed to Kill.
During our break, we're going to be enlightened by Latasha McRae. She's a breast cancer survivor, and she talks about how she thrived during her treatments because she had living benefit life insurance. Uncomfortable Conversations is sponsored by Thriving Women University, an affiliate of the Thriving Women Network. And if you want to produce a franchise show on E360 TV, TWN provides the media training, coaching, and mentoring to produce your franchise show. All you have to do is visit thrivingwomennetwork.com to schedule your opportunity. We'll be right back.
My name is Latasha McRae, and this is my living benefit story. I'm 38 years old. I'm a single mother of an 18-year-old, and I work in the banking industry.
I'm David Sutherland from Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm a living benefit life insurance agent. When I had first met Latasha, 30 years old, single mother with an 8-year-old son.
I am an avid gym goer. I was really in great health. Dave came over one afternoon.
She explained that, what she was trying to accomplish was to protect her 8-year-old son in case something happened.
The idea that I liked the most about the living benefits, it gave me security to let me know that if anything happened to me, my son would still be taken care of.
What we ended up doing was a 30-year term policy for $250,000 with all the benefits included.
So I decided to put the policy in place with Dave. Years had gone by, and I'm just working every day, going to work, not thinking anything of it. And one day I get a phone call from my doctor. And they called to let me know that I was diagnosed with stage 2-3 breast cancer. It was one of the worst calls in my life. I literally thought I was like losing everything that I had always worked for. I had always been in great health. I had all these financial plans set. And just to hear that, it just made me feel like I was losing everything. I went into shock for about 2 days. I didn't eat. I couldn't really sleep. My doctors were basically some of the best doctors that we had, and they put a plan together how we were going to beat cancer. So it began with telling me the financial needs, of course, the surgeries that I would need. The funding itself was astronomical. My job was kind enough to say, well, we'll give you time off, but it will be unpaid. Therefore, I really didn't have any income coming in to take care of my mortgage, to take care of my son. My insurance didn't cover 100% of my chemotherapy, and I couldn't afford it. I had stocks, I had savings, but it was nothing compared to the money that I would need to take care of the chemotherapy.
She happened to call and say, I need to cancel my plan. I have a health crisis, and I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I said, well, no, you don't need to cancel your plan to try and save premium. You need to put in a claim.
Through my job, I had great health insurance. I always thought that because I had great health insurance, I was always covered. Chemotherapy wasn't covered 100% with my insurance. So the living benefit really came in and helped me take care of those chemo treatments, my radiation, my surgeries, my biopsies. There's a lot of things associated with cancer that the insurance companies do not cover.
That's what gets people in trouble financially. And that's why you have a plan with living benefits that you don't have to die to use your plan.
I really didn't have income coming in to put gas in my car, to pay my car note. And I remember speaking with my doctors, and they told me this financial plan was going to cost thousands. One of the first plans that I received was $20,000.
The claims process took 2 to 3 weeks at the most. And then Latasha called me one day and just said, hey, I just got a check in the mail today for just a little over $65,000. She still has almost $170,000 of remaining benefit that's still existing.
Even though I was still fighting cancer, I still had surgeries I still had to recover from. Financially, I didn't have to fight through anything because the living benefits plan was there. I just wanted to make sure that my son didn't feel that his mom was sick. He knew I was sick. It was something that I was living through. I didn't want it to affect him at all. He still had his cable, still had his games. And I know to a lot of people that's not important, but to me, it was important for me to feel like I'm fighting this, not he's fighting this cancer. Through a total of 9 surgeries, and 2 years later, I've been cancer-free, 2 years December. And my life has taken a total turn for the best.
She's back to living a normal life. And it's just a very rewarding, fulfilling thing to have been a small part of that.
The living benefit plan is something that everybody needs to look into, to spare just a few moments of your time, whether it's $30, $40, $50 a month. This is your future that you're thinking about. A lot of people say, I love my kids. If you love your kids, think about your kids' future. Think about your future with your kids, and think about your kids' future without you. If you're not thinking about all of these things, then you're really not planning for a future at all. And the living benefits plan basically makes sure that your kids are taken care of, you're taken care of, your illness is taken care of. Money isn't everything, but when you're battling cancer, it's a whole lot off of you.
Welcome back to Uncomfortable Conversations. And if you're just tuning into the show, our topic of conversation is, does wearing a bra cause breast cancer? And we've invited one of the foremost researchers on that topic into the studio today, Sydney Ross Singer, medical anthropologist, author, and pioneer of the field of applied medical anthropology. He's the founder of the Institute for the Study of Culturogenic Disease, located on the Big Island of Hawaii. Sydney has made numerous discoveries of the cultural causes of many common diseases. And the research into the link between breast cancer and bras is described in the groundbreaking book that Sydney wrote, Dressed to Kill: The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras. So welcome to the show, Sydney. Thank you for coming today. And first of all, what and who inspired you to research the link between bras and breast cancer?
Well, thanks for having me, CJ. It's nice to be here. I got involved in the breast cancer field when my wife discovered a lump in her breast. We were actually in Fiji at the time doing something else, and she was hanging out some bras on the line, and a local woman came over who had never seen bras before. It was on a remote island in Fiji, and she was wondering if it was tight. And my wife said, yeah, it is, but I suppose you get used to it. And about a week later, my wife discovered a lump in her breast, and she was pregnant at the time. And as a medical anthropologist, I have a background in medicine, biochemistry, and anthropology. And I try to understand the cultural causes of disease by looking at what we do to ourselves that make us sick. And this was like a perfect example of that kind of a problem. So we came back to the United States in a panic about this lump. We were hesitant to want to do x-rays or any of that since she was pregnant. And we wondered, what could this be? And when we got off the plane and she took her bra off to take a shower, we saw these red marks and indentations around her body that the bra leaves. And we've always assumed that those were normal somehow. But suddenly we were looking for clues of she was a healthy woman, vegetarian, exercised frequently, everything. Why would she have a problem? And the marks suddenly became significant. It was signs of constriction, of tightness. And most women know that. Most women who wear bras are very uncomfortable. It's the first thing they take off when they get home. So what we ended up doing was going through this journey of discovering what bras can do to women. And we did the first study ever done on the link between breast cancer and bras directly, although we've discovered since that they've known about the bra cancer link in the 1930s and 40s. There were bra patents that were saying bras cause cancer. This is a better bra. Let me explain why bras are a problem. The problem is if your body needs to have proper circulation, both blood circulation and lymphatic circulation. Lymphatics are a passive system that has tiny vessels in it, and it's in your tissues, and it drains fluid from your tissues, including waste products and carcinogenic chemicals, which are toxins. And these are drained to the lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes are factories for white blood cell production. And if you have any infection or cancer cells in your breasts, which happens all the time, we develop cancers all the time, but these lymph nodes will detect these cancers and send white blood cells to fight them in the breast. Now, what happens if you constrict the breast? You interfere with this circulation. So the immune system, because lymphatics is a circulatory pathway of the immune system. And if the immune system is cut off, then developing cancer cells can't be fought properly. Toxins that we get exposed to in our polluted air, water, and food, chemicals that can cause cancer, they course throughout your body and have to be flushed out by the lymphatic system, which is, as I said, passive. Any compression on your body can shut that off. And so these get concentrated in the breast. Any radiation damage from mammograms, from anything else, has to be repaired. But if your breasts are constricted by a tight garment, that repair won't happen. So the bra is an interference with breast health in general. And what happens is, because of that interference, the first thing women will experience is breast pain and tenderness and cysts, which will eventually form as this lymph fluid can't escape properly from can't leave the breast because of the constriction from the bra. And realize bras are designed to be constrictive. They're meant to change the shape of the breast, and you can't change the shape of the breast and lifting it and pushing it in a different direction without applying pressure. And the breasts are soft tissue with a lot of blood supply and a lot of lymphatic drainage. They are meant to lactate, and that takes a lot of circulation. And when you constrict the breast, it causes problems. That's obvious. It's circulate or deteriorate. And unfortunately, the medical community has been ignoring this, which is like ignoring tight shoes. If a person has a foot problem, the first thing you think is, are your shoes okay? And if you have a lung problem, the first thing you say is, do you smoke? These are the cultural things we do. Well, if you have a breast problem, the first thing you should ask is, do you wear a bra? How tight is it? How long each day do you wear it? And they're starting to ask those questions now in breast cancer research in Iran and in other countries around the world. The US is still resisting this because for 30 years I've been working on this. And it's being resisted because as a culture-caused disease, it's connected to a lot of things. It's not as simple as get rid of your bra, because there's a multi-billion-dollar bra industry that's worried about lawsuits, just like the tobacco industry got their lawsuits. The bra industry has suspected underwires were causing problems for years, cancer. They know cancer is caused by these things. It's just that the industry doesn't want to have to admit that. And the medical industry has been ignoring it because they look at breasts as a biological organ that they could model in rats or in guinea pigs or in monkeys or in tissue culture. They don't realize that human beings have a culture, and the culture we have affects the way we treat our bodies. And if you're in a culture that binds breasts, you're going to have very constrictive garments cutting off circulation to your breasts. And the bra is like a breast binding garment. It's actually a totally unnecessary fetish garment that sexualizes the breasts. There's no reason to change their shape or move them except for cultural fashion reasons. And women wore corsets for fashion reasons for centuries, and that killed them too. Constriction and compression is not what our soft tissue bodies want. We need to have circulation, which is why exercising it reduces breast cancer, because it improves your lymphatic circulation in your breasts. And if you're wearing a bra, you're not going to benefit from that. There's so many things I could say.
Am I right in hearing then, in terms of the problems, the tighter the bra, the longer you wear it, the worse the effects? But I understand that you have done, that there is an international bra-free study. And what are some of the results of that?
Well, women have been, over 38 countries are involved. They just take off their bras and let us know what they experience. And bras affect much more than just breast cancer and just the breasts. They end up having, every woman who gets rid of her bra says she can breathe more easily. And it does inhibit breathing, having a constrictive band around the chest. It also impairs nerves and affects your nervous system and your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It causes body temperature change. It slows digestion. It actually lengthens menstrual cycles. And these are things that I found in our study that's ongoing, as well as these studies around the world on this. There's a lot of research showing bras are a problem. It's just the cancer link is a real problem for the medical industry, because every study that they've done that ignored bras is like studying lung cancer and ignoring smoking. And they're going to have to reconsider everything. And the bra industry is going to sue them when the American Cancer Society finally admits that bras are causing cancer. And I've spoken with the American, they're denying this because they sell bras. The American Cancer Society sells mastectomy bras. women are, when they tell them about bras and breast cancer, I thought women would be relieved. Like, thank God this is something I can do. And by the way, this risk is bigger than family history, and it's bigger than the tobacco cancer link. In fact, from our research and there are dozens of studies around the world that show this, that bras are causing breast cancer. Since our first study in 1991 to 93, published in our book Dressed to Kill, since then there have been lots of studies, but the knee-jerk reaction from medicine has been no. And unfortunately, that's discouraging women. And like that doctor you had on earlier, he is so misinformed. First of all, the study that he talked about, this Hutchison study, it doesn't compare whether you wear a bra or not, because there were no women who were bra free. These are all women over 55 who've worn their bras for 40 years. And then all of them, there were no bra free women. That study was designed as a hit piece against this theory because the medical industry is embarrassed and they are going to be sued. The American Cancer Society is going to ultimately be sued for fraud and for misinformation about the bra and breast cancer link. There are lots of studies, but this information is being suppressed and censored because it's a threat to the economy when you think of how many billions are spent on not only lingerie, but the entire image of breast obsession that we deal with. Women's...
To ask you, because we're running a little short of time here, we've got to move on to our next segment, but how can our viewers find you if they want to find more about this really important issue?
Well, first of all, you should really read the book Dressed to Kill because it goes into all of this experience. It was updated in 2018, and that's on Amazon and everywhere. Dressed to Kill, the link between breast cancer and bras. The other thing is I have a website, brasandbreastcancer.org. And on that, you can see references to all sorts of things. You can also join our Bra Free Study at brafreestudy.org. Most important thing, it's your body. And if you take off your bra and give yourself 1 month of being bra free without constriction, even if you think your bra is not a problem right now, if you try this, it'll change your life. Women say their self-esteem even improves once they no longer feel that they need to alter their breast appearance to be acceptable in public. And as our culture becomes much more conscious of equity and inclusion and women's rights, we have to be aware that women are not comfortable in bras, that we shouldn't force them to alter their body shape to be in the workplace or to be acceptable. We shouldn't be harassing women for having nipples or for having breasts. And this is a sexist old issue that's from the 20th century that should be eliminated. We shouldn't be in a culture anymore where we have to have women be uncomfortable and risk breast cancer and all sorts of other health problems because they're afraid and they've been ashamed of their bodies and forced into bras.
Well, thank you, Sydney. Some really powerful words there. I think you've given women, our women viewers, a lot to think about. And thank you for coming on the show today. So,
thank you, CJ.
During our YouTube break, we're going to be enlightened, encouraged, empowered on how to create an open environment that encourages people to talk about their feelings. And that is an important step towards helping someone struggling with mental health challenges. Uncomfortable Conversations is sponsored by Thriving Women University, an affiliate of the Thriving Women Network. And if you want to produce a franchise show on E360 TV, TWN provides the media network training, coaching, and mentoring to produce your very own franchise show. Visit thrivingwomennetwork.com to schedule your opportunity. We'll be right back after the break.
You're such an attention seeker.
ड्रामे नहीं करो।
Man up, dude. अपने आप को नुकसान पहुंचाने से मसला हल नहीं होगा। बहुत नाशुक्री हो, हर चीज तो है तुम्हारे पास।
Depression and mental anxiety are growing problems.
But they are largely ignored.
While there is no single way to know if someone is suffering from depression or having suicidal thoughts, we must learn to spot some early signs.
कमरे में बंद रहना.
Avoiding friends and family. बहुत जल्दी गुस्सा आ जाना.
A sudden loss or gain of weight.
ठीक से ना सो पाना.
Watch out when they say,
मैं जिंदा नहीं रह सकता.
Nobody understands me.
मैं अपनी फैमिली पे बोझ हूँ. मैं किसी काबिल नहीं.
I wish I could die.
नौजवानों को कोई ऐसा कदम उठाने से रोकने का बेहतरीन तरीका है उनसे बात करना.
खुदकुशी के ख्यालात के बारे में पूछना गलत नहीं बल्कि बेहद ज़रूरी है.
Encourage them to be open about their feelings.
so what should we say to them?
मैं आपकी किस तरह मदद कर सकती हूँ?
कभी कभी जिंदगी बोझ लगती है.
Well, welcome back to Uncomfortable Conversation. If you're just tuning into the show, our topic of conversation is, does wearing a bra cause breast cancer? We've heard some very interesting perspectives, research, and data. We've invited Tennille Morris, brand specialist and host of The Latest Tea with Lady T. And we also have Jaleh. We can bring her on to share their personal perspectives on our topic of conversation. So let's start with Tennille. Hi, Tennille. How are you?
Hello. How are you? Thank you for having me, Sabrina and CJ. This is a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come because I know this is very sensitive. So, Tennille, can you take a moment and share your story of losing your mother to breast cancer, and how did it impact you to open up the doors for other women?
My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer 57, 58 years old. I mean, she was vibrant, could walk miles at a time. I mean, you just would never think that that was something that would hit her as hard as it did, as fast as it did. She called me and said, "Oh, girl, I think I have a lump or whatever." And I said, "Oh, you'll be all right," because I'm looking at this vibrant woman that does everything. Like, it's nothing that she couldn't do. We went to have a mammogram. They said, "Well, it does look like there's something there." Fast forward, she was in stage 3 breast cancer. In stage 3. From that point, I'm always kind of supportive and upbeat. I'm like, "Oh, it'll be all right, What's the course of action, what we can do?" So she had a mastectomy and had her lymph nodes removed. From that point, they said she did chemo, radiation, said she would be fine. About a year after that, the cancer came back, but it moved through her entire body. She was having so much pain that they were so trying to treat her pain that they stopped treating the cancer. So at that point, it had moved through her entire body, had made her wish she wasn't able to walk. So she died about a year and a half, 2 years later. It was a shock, and because it's something that I just never knew. It's like you hear the importance of it, how serious it is, but until it hits home, it's kind of one of those things that you don't really grasp all of it. So at that point, once I got over the part of her passing and going through it, it made me think about, of course, as being a daughter in my 40s, I was like, am I next, So that scary feeling or uneasy feeling is what made me decide that I need to get out here and try to encourage women, young ladies, that it's okay to be scared, it's okay to be nervous, but you would rather go and have those mammograms and get the information that you need to know where you stand instead of trying to push it off. We think the more that we push things to the back, that it won't, it'll disappear, but that's not the case. So I'd had recently my own scare with breast cancer to the point where I had my mammogram, had another mammogram, then I had to have a biopsy. During that particular time, just like one of the things I think Latoya was saying, was that you get so nervous and scared of what the outcome is going to be. And I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do a lot of those different things. But then I had to realize is that if this is the case, You know, just because the tragedy hit the way that it hit my mom, I know that I know a little early enough, and it's possible to beat it. So once you get in your head that there's, you know, women beat it all the time. There's breast cancer survivors everywhere. You have to let go of the stigma of being, oh, I've been diagnosed with this, and that's the cost of my life. My life is over, and that's just not the case.
So Tennille, let me break for a minute, because I mean, you mentioned so much. You know, your mom haven't been diagnosed, haven't been treated, and look at the outcome. Now we have our co-host here, CJ Grace. She was diagnosed also with breast cancer, so she will understands exactly what you're talking about. And then your own scare, which I was aware of, and thank you for sharing that. Mammograms is just one start of it. So I'm going to move over first to Jaleh and then to CJ for additional thoughts, because we just heard some information on cause and effect. You know, you made an interesting comment that they started treating the pain and stopped treating the cancer. So that's another conversation and another show. Let's move to Jaleh. What are your thoughts, Jaleh? Any questions or comments on our prior guest? Now we have Tennille with her own personal story. What are your thoughts?
Hello. Thanks for having me. Actually, I don't have much to say about this subject because my family, we have been very fortunate. We haven't had any cancer in the family. So I cannot say anything about experiencing this. But I see around me. And I am glad that as every year we go further, I see more and more cancer survival. That's a good sign. And difficulties are there. It's important to know how to deal with it. Look at how many books came out. CJ is one example. So many big books are coming and talking about experiences of survivor cancers and how they dealt with the subject. So I think this is a good sign of how we are going further.
Thank you so much. CJ, did you have any questions or comments for Tennille?
Well, I think it's great that she's advocating people to take charge, because I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor with a BRCA gene that makes me more susceptible to the disease, the BRCA gene. And the first cancer was found from a mammogram. And so screening does have value, and people should rather, I loved what she said about, you know, don't just put your head in the sand. If I don't do anything about it, it'll go away. No, that's not the route forward. And it's a crapshoot. There's so many different ways to treat cancer. There's so many different outcomes. I was besieged with unsolicited advice when I had cancer both times, and you just have to go with your gut and do what feels right for you. I did both conventional and alternative medicine. I did chemo, radiation, but a ton of alternative things as well when I had particularly my second bout of breast cancer, which was worse than the first one. But Tennille, what would you say to our young women to help them move forward without the fear and to actually go ahead and be proactive about avoiding breast cancer and avoiding and getting screened?
What I would say, I have a daughter that's 21 years old as well, and it's just so funny how she was just saying that her breast was hurting. I think when you know that it's in your family, that you become one of those people that you're a lot more, any pain or anything, you're a lot more aware of it. So I say don't wait on the pain. I say to make sure that if it is in your family, speak to your doctors, go to your doctors regularly and speak to them and let them know that your family history, and go get tested, go to get your mammogram. Just make sure that you are your own your own advocate of making sure that those things get done. You know, don't wait on a doctor to tell you, well, you're not old enough. You know, it's not your time. You have to wait till you're 40. I mean, it's one of those things that you have to take charge. And I say, go get your regular checkups. If there's history in your family, go quite often. Don't be nervous or scared, because as Jalea said, there are a lot of cancer survivors that's out there. So you have more survivors, not saying more survivors than people who have succumbed to it, but the rate of survival is steady and honestly just going up and rising. So just keep that in mind, is that you're not someone that's going to succumb to it. You also have the power to be one of the survivors. So just make sure that that's what you keep in mind, that you're going to be a survivor. And just because you may have gotten that diagnosis does not define the rest of your life.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to just ask you one more thing because we do have to go to break. You're the latest tea with Lady T. So tell us how we can support you and how can our viewers find you?
Yes, you can go on to Everyday Woman TV, and it's on 19 different platforms. You can put it on your Roku. You can go online. It's Apple TV, and look for the latest tea with Lady T. Also, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook with the latest tea with Lady T. And what it is just a platform for us to have topics and discussions about things of breast cancer. Mental health is another one that's coming up, but also fun things, fashion, music, things. And so it gives you a little bit of roundabout of everything. So yes, please reach out. And if you have any questions or any concerns or just want to know, you can always reach me on those platforms.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uncomfortable Conversation is sponsored by Thriving Women University, an affiliate of the Thriving Women Network. If you want to produce a franchise show at E360 TV, TWN provides the media network training, coaching, and mentoring to produce your franchise show. Visit www.thrivingwomennetwork.com to schedule your opportunity. We'll be right back.
Maya Angelou stated, "The life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Encourage, enlighten, empower."
Professional boxer Muhammad Ali stated, "Don't count the days, make the days count. Encourage, enlighten, and empower."
We want to thank our viewers around the world and our guest, Sydney Ross Singer, author of the book Dressed to Kill, The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras, and Tennille Morris, brand strategist and host of The Latest Tea with Lady T, for supporting our conversation. We hope that something we said enlightens, encourages, and empowers you to have this conversation with your family and friends.
And we want to remind our viewers that we'll be back next week with more empowering conversation. And visit our website, thrivingwomennetwork.com, where you can post a comment on today's show topic. Have your say. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to tune into Every Child Can Learn. That's streaming tonight at 6 o'clock tonight Eastern Time. You can watch this episode and all the other episodes of our Thriving Women Network shows on Apple or Spotify podcasts by downloading the app from their websites. Don't forget, Uncomfortable Conversations is sponsored by Thriving Women University, your path to producing a franchise show on E360 TV. All you have to do is visit thrivingwomennetwork.com to schedule your franchise opportunity. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week.